In this episode of the Butt Chronicles, we take a look at Beavis and Butt-Head, Episode 7, Good Credit.
Welcome to Industrial Industries World Radio's The Butt Chronicles.
You said welcome.
Oh God.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the Butt Chronicles, your audio guide to everything Beavis and Butt-Head. And I'm your host, DJ Glowing Ice. And today we take a look at Beavis and Butt-Head Episode 7, Good Credit. It first aired on MTV on May 17th, 1993. Okay, let's get into the story of what happens in Beavis and Butt-Head, Good Credit. The episode starts in Beavis and Butt-Head's house. Their TV shows the opening sequence to the TV show The Brady Bunch. As the Brady Bunch song plays, showing the female cast, Beavis and Butt-Head chime in with their own lyrics for the song, saying, "The youngest one liked girls." And then, as it showed the part of the male cast, the boys then sang, "But they didn't sleep alone." Beavis lifts his hand up, holding a credit card. Beavis says he found it yesterday at Mr. Anderson's house. On the credit card, Tom T. Anderson is printed on it. "Let's burn it," says Beavis, as he holds a lighter underneath it. Butthead swipes the card away from Beavis's hand as he says, "No way, chode smoker. You could buy stuff with these things." "Can you buy BB guns?" asks Beavis. "I think so," replies Butthead. Cut back to their TV as they change the Brady Bunch to a channel playing the Beverly Hillbillies. The character Jed in the show is saying, "Whoo doggies, it's a good thing about them possum innards, still good the next day." Next we see an outside shot of a shopping mall called Turbo Mall 2000. The boys are walking through the mall with a shopping cart that contains a toilet plunger, a stuffed mounted moose head, a baseball bat, a chainsaw, and kerosene. Oddly, these are all items that are seen in a bedroom of their house in a prior episode. They stop at a pet store called Pet Me, and Beavis says, "Let's buy some animals." Next, we see the back view of an RV traveling down the road as country music plays in the background. The spare tire cover on the back of the RV reads, "The Andersons, Tom and Marcy." The RV pulls into a parking lot of the Holloway Inn Hotel, a parody of the Holiday Inn. Cut to the front of the RV, where we see Tom and Marcy Anderson have a conversation after shutting off the vehicle. Tom and Marcy Anderson are an old retired couple who live in the same neighborhood as Beavis and Butt-Head. Tom Anderson is a retired war veteran, and his wife basically goes along with anything her husband does and says, and she really doesn't say too much. Tom tells Marcy about how much he's been waiting for this trip. He goes on and says, "All the old boys are gonna be here. Dick, Peter, Rod, Johnson. Why, I even heard a rumor that old John Thomas might show up this time." Back to Beavis and Butt-Head in the pet store. They're looking at a bird. A store clerk approaches them and asks if they need any help. Butt-Head says, "Yeah, I want to buy this thing." Beavis, in the meantime, is flicking on his lighter and holding it underneath the bird's perch. The clerk says that the bird is $2,400. Butthead says, "I'll take 2 of them." Thinking the boys have no means of buying the birds, the clerk threatens to call security until he sees the credit card in Beavis's hand and says, "Oh, I see. Would you like anything else today?" Beavis asks for dogs. The clerk brings a golden retriever and mentions on and on about how it's 100% purebred and lists how top choice it is. Then Beavis points out, "Look, he's got a boner." And with that, Butthead says, "We'll take him." Beavis then asks for cats. Back to the Andersons at the hotel. They're at the reception desk and Tom threatens the man behind the counter that they better have a room close to the bar. The hotel employee says, "Sure, cash or charge." Mr. Anderson says, "I'm using the old plastic," as he flips open his wallet and then realizes he doesn't have his credit card. He throws his wallet onto the counter, making coins and other cards fly out of it. "Damn it! I'm gonna miss the opening ceremonies," Tom yells. Back to Beavis and Butthead at the pet store, they ask if there are any dead animals available. The clerk mentions that there were a couple chinchillas that didn't make it through shipping. Butthead says, "Cool." Beavis, with a lizard sitting on his shoulder, pushes the shopping cart up to the front of the store. Inside the cart, there are 3 birds, 2 cats, and a snake. Following behind Beavis is Butthead with a humping dog attached to each leg. The clerk adds up everything and it totals to $6,275. Butthead hands the clerk the credit card and signs his name, Butthead, on the receipt. Back again to the Andersons at the hotel, Tom is trying to find his credit card while saying he doesn't even have enough money to get home. Marcy says, "Say, honey, weren't you using it to get into the tool shed after those boys locked you out?" Tom, realizing this, screams in rage. "Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to leave," says the man at the reception desk. Marcy taps Tom on his arm, who's still visibly shaking, and says to not worry, and that there's always next year. Cut back to Beavis and Butthead walking out of the mall with all the animals. The cats jump out of the cart and run away instantly. Butthead says, "Welcome to the credit world, dude." One dog caught the $2,400 bird in its mouth and is now shaking it. The 2 parrots in the cart, which one resembles Beavis and the other resembles Butthead, see the dog eating the other bird and squawk, "That was cool." Back at the boys' house, they're watching TV, sitting on the couch with all the animals around them. They're watching Archie Bunker talk on the TV show All in the Family. As they watch the show, bird crap falls on the top of the TV, as they then change the channel to a woman pleading to give money to people in need. Butthead says, "Why don't these people just get credit cards? They could eat all they wanted." "Maybe they're stupid," says Beavis. "What are we gonna do with all of these animals?" asks Butthead. "Let's take them to Anderson's house," says Beavis. "Yeah, it's the least we could do," says Butthead. Beavis and Butthead both agree to keep the birds, though. And that's the end of episode 7, Beavis and Butthead, Good Credit. Now let's check out the music videos. Alright, the music videos. First up, we've got Loverboy with Working for the Weekend. Butthead laughs and he says, "Look at this. What a bunch of crap." He then adds, "These guys played at the state fair last year." Beavis says, "Yeah, remember? Right before the pig races." Butthead says, "Remember the one with the big nads that hung way down?" "You mean the bass player?" asks Beavis. "No, Beavis, I'm talking about the pigs," Butthead says. They then change it. Next is the Bangles with Manic Monday. As the video shows the female singer, Butthead asks, "Hey Beavis, would you bangle her?" Beavis says, "Yeah." Butthead says, "These are the kind of girls that won't talk to us." "Yeah, these are a bunch of rich chicks," Beavis adds. "Yeah, they're afraid of our love," says Butthead. Then we got the Ramones with Pet Cemetery. Butthead says fire is cool and that dead animals are cool. And then they change it. Next, John Cougar Mellencamp with Pop Singer. Butthead says, "This is that guy with all those last names." Beavis asks Butthead how many last names he has. Butthead says, "Just one, dude. Head." He goes on to say that John Cougar Mellencamp really does suck. The boys call him a whiner and complainer, and then Butthead says, "I'd complain too if I sucked." Beavis asks, "How come you don't complain?" Then laughs. Butthead tells Beavis to shut up. Then we got Soundgarden with Rusty Cage. Beavis is shown with a cigarette in his mouth attempting to light it. The boys headbang, they love Soundgarden, and Beavis talks about what if the old man in the video tripped and got the pitchfork stuck in his stomach. Butthead tells Beavis to calm down and to not soil his drawers. As this episode reran in the future, the Bangles and Loverboy videos were exchanged for Been Caught Stealing by Jane's Addiction, in which we've already covered that music video in a past episode. So there you go, guys. There's your music videos. Now let's get into the fun facts of this episode. This episode inevitably got censored and had a few things cut. So in the beginning, when Beavis and Butthead are sitting on the couch and Beavis holds up the credit card, the parts of Beavis trying to set the credit card on fire and Butthead calling Beavis a chode smoker all got cut. Also, when Beavis and Butthead are in the pet store, a lot of the shots of Beavis trying to set the bird's perch on fire with a lighter was cut as well. This episode is the first time Tom Anderson appears in the series. And Tom Anderson is the older man living in Beavis and Butthead's neighborhood. He stands 6 foot 3 inches tall, weighs in at 250 pounds. He's bald, he wears glasses, and he appears in this episode wearing a white undershirt, green overalls, and a blue outdoorsy brimmed hat. This is his look in these earlier episodes, but in later episodes he loses the green overalls, and his hat periodically changes colors from light green to back to light blue again. Some background information on Tom Anderson, or Mr. Anderson, is that he's a retired Navy veteran who fought in the Korean War, and he enjoys drinking beer, going on trips with his wife Marcy, doing yard work, and working with tools. Throughout the series, Beavis and Butthead do odd jobs for him and wind up destroying his property or hurting him. The boys always get away with it, due to Mr. Anderson being senile. He's always confused when talking to Beavis and Butthead, and always mixes them up with other people and calls them different names. The voice of Tom Anderson is done by Mike Judge, and also Tom Anderson's voice is also the same voice for Hank Hill in the series King of the Hill, which is another cartoon series that Mike Judge created. And while we're on the subject of King of the Hill, Hank Hill was actually supposed to be Tom Anderson's son, and Mike Judge was wanting to make King of the Hill loosely tied in with the world of Beavis and Butthead. The problem was that King of the Hill was on Fox, and Beavis and Butthead and all its characters were owned by MTV, and it just didn't work out. Mike Judge came up with the Tom Anderson character based on multiple people throughout his childhood. Growing up in New Mexico, Mike noticed how every middle-aged man with authority had a Texas accent. One man like that in particular he remembered was when he had a newspaper route with his brother. They were a month into the paper route, and Mike and his brother, at the end of the month, were collecting the money door to door. They approached a house, and a man like Tom Anderson answered the door. Mike said that him and his brother were the paper boys, and they're here to collect the money. The man replied, "Well, you ain't my paper boy." Mike's brother responded, "Yeah, we know. Your old paper boy quit, and we're your new paper boys." The man replied back, "Well, I know what my paper boy looks like, and you ain't my paper boy." Mike's brother then said, "Well, if you don't pay, then we'll have to cancel your subscription." The man replied back, "Oh, I'm going to get the paper when the real paper boy comes." And that's how the character of Tom Anderson came to be. A less major character appeared for the first time in this episode as well, which was Tom Anderson's wife, Marcy Anderson. She's an old, kind, and reserved woman that doesn't say too much, and when she does, it's in a calmed, quiet, and somewhat scared tone. She appears for the first time in this episode as a short woman with short gray hair, glasses, wearing a pink shirt. And in this episode, good credit, Mike Judge did the voice of Marcy Anderson as well. Another fun fact is that Butthead briefly had a Gwar t-shirt on in this episode. It's when he's in the pet shop and he has the two dogs on each of his legs and he's walking back and forth. You'll see Gwar as he turns and makes a right step. Good Credit is the second episode of Season 2 of Beavis and Butthead, and it's the 7th episode overall. IMDb, the Internet Movie Database, gives it a 7.6 out of 10. Now, I'll give you my review. My relationship with Good Credit is I never seen it before up until today, so it was new to me. I enjoyed it quite a bit, more than prior episodes. I'd say all the way up to this episode, Peace, Love, and Understanding is still my favorite, but this is pretty good. It's decent. Mr. Anderson, a lot of his lines were great. Peter, Rod, Dick, all that mentioning, talking about his friends and all that, and all their names refer to male genitalia. That was a really nice touch. You could kind of tell in this episode's music videos of how great those segments will be for the future episodes, because this is when I feel like they started to just really tear apart the bands and music they were watching. Especially the John Cougar Mellencamp music video was really great. I appreciated that one. And then Beavis pointing out that the dog has a boner and they buy the dog just based off that and not just because it's like a purebred, really. It's classic stuff. So my rating for Beavis and Butt-Head, good credit. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. It's a good, decent episode. Has enough in it that's rewatchable again. And yeah, I enjoyed it. So there you go. That's my rating. 6 out of 10 for Beavis and Butt-Head, Episode 7. Good credit.